Here we have CJ Jones from the Jones Racing booth here at the Motorsports Show from Oaks, Pennsylvania.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about this front drive setup on this 358.
We just have a 358 here on display, and it's very similar to what most of our customers are running, where we do the one-wire all-near setup, power steering pump with or without the integrated reservoir. Like I think some of your stuff has the remote reservoir where you run it inboard the car.
Yep.
And I think a couple of your cars have the integrated reservoir also.
Both work really great. It's, in my opinion, it's, on a small block, it's nice and confined like this,
Yep.
and on a big block, you can get the weight moved back to the
Right.
rear of the car a little bit by having it remote.
Yep. I like the integrated also because it's right there in front of guys, and they have a habit of checking the fluid.
Yeah.
So that's nice too.
Yeah.
Because
Out
when
there,
it's up
easy
in the cockpit, sometimes it gets forgotten about, and it's nice when guys are able to keep a track
Pretty
on the
easy
fluid.
plumbing too, one less line.
Yes. Yeah. It gets rid of the dash 10 line because all it's integrated right, from the tank to the pump.
Yep.
And then just one of our belt-driven fuel pumps, like I know you run on some of your big blocks.
Yep.
One of our standard 358 style kits, whether it be dirt legal 358 or Pennsylvania, New Jersey spec, but this is one of our most popular kits.
What I like about this pump is it gets it away from the engine, keeps the fuel cool, and consistent fuel pressure.
Definitely. And that's one thing a lot of customers make a comment on is after they switch to the belt-driven fuel pumps, they feel like restarts are a lot crisper. And I think a lot of that is because we're not saturating that heat into the fuel. That's one thing I know her dad was really big on is making sure that, we had heat wrap on all the fuel lines and keeping the fuel cool. And, that still holds true. Anytime we can get a fuel cooler delivery, it's going to free up some horsepower.
Tell us about these different types of belts.
On this style setup here, not knowing what particular fan a customer is going to run, we would stick more toward the serpentine setup, crank the water pump and crank the power steering. And that way they'd be able to run a 4 or 5 or 6 blade fan, whether it be the race fan style like we sell or even the heavier steel fan like some guys still opt to run. The serpentine belt will handle that all day long without issue. And then of course we'll run the low drag style radius tooth belt on the alternator and the fuel pump because we don't want any slip on either one of those, obviously. And then with less belt tension, it's a lot easier on the bearings. So anytime we can alleviate stress on either one of those pumps, that's what we choose to do.
So one thing that a lot of our engine builders prefer about Jones Racing products is you can get this whole kit as a package.
Correct.
It comes with complete instructions on how to install it correctly. All the spacing is laid out so it's easy to bolt on. And it's something that when you get these pieces separately is time consuming to align everything. It's very important that you double check that, maybe take a straight edge across your pulleys and make sure that there's perfect alignment so that one of your belts isn't going to jump off of the pulley and cause an issue during a race.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And one thing we do with all our product line is we make sure the front flange thickness on all the pulleys are the same. So you can do just like Mike said, just simple as putting a straight edge from pulley to pulley and make sure they're in line, that way you won't have any issues moving forward. So that's 100% right. And as far as our kits go, we do sell a complete kit where it would come with everything the customer needs, just bolt it right on the engine. But we do a lot of retrofits to where a customer would already have a power steering pump or an alternator or even a fuel pump, that we just fill in the gaps of the pulleys they need. So it's not they have to buy a whole kit, but buying a whole kit, they get everything they need and it's all pre-assembled in the box and bolts right on. So it is a huge time saver.
And if you have something different and you need spacing, they make the spacers and the bolts, and they have everything that you need to bolt on the front of the engine.
Yeah.
Just to make it simple, it's a one-stop shop.
We try to, and most of our customers have a good grasp on what type of setup they're looking for. But our tech guys there that answer the phone are really good about asking the important questions like, are you running a water pump spacers, and if so, how thick? And like down here in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, we can run a crank trigger. So that's another thing, customers will ask, like this engine here is set up for down here, so it'll have the crank trigger rather than the 358 dirt legal, it doesn't. And that'll all affect the spacing. So that's one of those questions that gets asked a lot by our guys when we get a phone call. They make sure the customer gets the right kit to make sure the alignment and everything's right.
How about belt tension? The difference between the serpentine and the radius tooth belt take different belt tension,
They do. So your belt tension is predetermined from crank to water pump because there's no adjustment there. So we own the right molds for all the belts, and of course we make the pulleys the correct size for not only the speed and the ratio, but also the belt tension. So your belt tension on a serpentine is going to be right around 80 pounds, where like a conventional V-belt like guys were used to using in the past was about 120. So a whole lot less than that in order to keep everything from slipping. But then your radius tooth, it's nice and relaxed. And like we were talking about earlier, it's a lot easier on those components to spin and when the belts are relaxed like that.
Yeah, and one thing I like about these radius tooth belts is when you keep them at that nice relaxed tension, it's easy on the pulley teeth. They last a long time. and it's low drag.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, we do a whole setup like for the crate guys that's all radius tooth, and when they use the lightweight fan, we'll go radius tooth from crank to water pump and power steering, and of course the alternator, and it really frees up a lot of horsepower. Just like you said, it's no drag.
It's a really well thought out product that everybody can switch to or kind of combine with what they have.
Right.
Awesome stuff.
And this time of year, it's nice too, because a lot of customers will be sending back items for, pre-maintenance checks. Like I know you do that a lot with us. You'll send back an alternator or a power steering pump and try to stay on top of all your equipment to make sure it's fresh and ready to go for the next season. And that's a service we offer to all our customers. And a lot of times that's at no charge, especially like our power steering pumps. We suggest they come back at least once a season for us to check them. Everything we do is serial numbered. So we're able to see how it performed the day it left when it was brand new and compare those results after you run it for a season or so. It's like power steering pumps. If a guy's using our power steering fluid, our synthetic fluid, we'll go ahead and go through that pump and dyno test it again, make sure it's tip-top shape. And most of the time, there's no charge to that because we appreciate guys running our fluid, and we know with that fluid, the pump's going to last. And then same thing with the fuel pumps. Once a season, it's really good to take a look at those. Trying to keep everything clean, there's a lot of harsh chemicals that are used in trying to clean the cars. So if we can stay on top of the maintenance on everything, the alternator bearings, the power steering seals, fuel pump seals, everything's going to be a lot more reliable. So that's what we try to do.
There you go. So don't forget about the front end of your engine.
Right.
If you check out Jones Racing Products catalog, it's really detailed. It has excellent diagrams of what all of these components are, what their part numbers are, so it's easy to call up and order.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Good to see you guys.
You too.